today's Red Dane top tip is on making farm sections work well together. It's very important that you separate your farm into sections. Obviously, depending on the size of the farm and the different types of operations will determine how many sections you have. But on a typical dairy farm, you'll have someone probably in charge of maintenance. Separate that to things like fixing tractors, doing electrics and so on. Another section mostly will be your either calf rearing on its own or calf rearing and young stock as one, depending how big the farm is. And then herd health, I like to separate, that someone's in charge of that, the dipping, the treatments and so on. And feeding would be another obvious separate section. That's actually getting the feed into the cows, like running the feed mix and so on, and then feed production. So those are some ideas. Other farms may have many more sections or just a couple of sections if they're very small. Once you've established the different sections, it's very important to give ownership. Choose a champion of that section, a supervisor or manager, whatever title you want to give them is not important. What is important is that it's their section, and you always refer to it as their section. They then build a team underneath it, underneath themselves, to get that section run properly. You then generally deal with that person and not with the people underneath them. Otherwise, you'll end up undermining them. That comes back to having a good structure. But to get, assuming you've put your good structure in place with each supervisor or manager having a section, you then need those individuals or those sections to work together. And how do you achieve that? Because often as the boss, you'll end up spending most of your time mediating between sections or trying to figure out who should have done this or who should have done that. Whereas if you make it very clear in a written contract with the supervisor of what he's responsible for, and then on to SOPs of how each thing should be done, there shouldn't be any grey areas or overlaps. What I then recommend is weekly meetings, not monthly or daily. It'll take up too much time, or if it's daily and monthly, you'll end up not happening and people have forgotten what happened in the last meeting. So a weekly meeting with the section managers, or where they discuss what needs to be done in cooperation with each other. I often chair those meetings as the boss of the farm or the owner. But once you get those managers working or supervisors working together, you can actually have a lot more time to work on the business rather than in it. I make sure that each section manager does his own monthly costings and presents those to me and set his bonuses on that. That way he understands what's important. It helps him avoid waste and makes him very conscious of any expenditure that he's going to do, but it also helps him realize how important it is to squeeze that extra litre of milk out of a cow or just improve his efficiencies. So I think it's good to be open about the finances of the farm with the workers. They're the guys who are running it. I then combine all the sections costings together, and I'm quite happy to create a little bit of competition where there'll even be negotiations, for example, where the young stock supervisor sets what he believes is a fair price for the heifers before they go to the dairy, the actual dairy section. That way you make sure that each section is efficient and that you're operating in the real world. For example, if they can get a better price for those heifers elsewhere, then we should be open to that. We should be looking at it as a business from each supervisor's perspective. I also like the different managers to visit each other's sections, go for a tour, explain, understand each other's problems, and maybe come up with suggestions to each other on how they can improve. Another thing that we found, one of the areas we found most difficult to motivate and to monitor or measure is maintenance and repairs and things, because we found it difficult to say, how long should it take to change a light bulb or fix a tractor. So we've developed a system with job cards. So for our maintenance and repairs, so that at least the maintenance manager can can plan his day or plan his week work with his men, his maintenance guys, so to make sure that everything does get done, and if he has a build-up of job cards, he can also get input on priorities from the managers, what needs to be done first. And again, they get a sense of achievement because they've ticked off a number of job cards. They've done a certain number of job cards, as opposed to running around in panic stations just trying to fix broken things.